$1.4 billion at the box office, a 96% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and Tom Cruise making James Corden cack his pants in a fighter jet. Top Gun Maverick has been a film sensation. Surely no one in their right mind would have a bad word to say about such an instant Hollywood classic. Wrong! Every village has its idiot, and every quality film has its critic. In this video, I've rounded up 5 of these maverick morons. Here's 5 top critics who hated Top Gun Maverick. What you on about, mate? OG Top Gun has one of my favourite scenes in any film. It made Tom Cruise a bona fide star and crushed the box office. You've started off this review worse than the night I took my date to see Schindler's List. How much bullshit can you fit in one paragraph? Some of the best villains of all time have been faceless. Phallic flying machines. What, you think planes are designed to look like erections? Mate, they're that way so they can fly, not give critics like you wet dreams. Dogfights are routine in aerial combat. Where do you think Star Wars got the idea from? Jesus wept. The only absurdity here, mate, is your laughable review. He has a death wish because he does his own stunts. He trains for years until he can do everything safely. Just because it looks dangerous don't mean it is. CGI is easy and lazy. Tom Cruise knows nothing beats practical effects and proper stunts. He's called the last movie star because all these others prance around in front of green screen in case they break a bleeding fingernail. If Jamie Vardy was here, prepared to get banged. You think there's a love interest just so Cruise can show he's straight? What world are you living on? Whatever planet it is, please start your own colony and cut off all contact with the rest of the human race. Fuck off. Val's been to Ellen back and then some. Poor bloke is lucky to be alive and is a deeply passionate and committed actor. You think he wants to reprise the role that made him famous just to make a quick buck? You absolute tool. It was one of the best, most heartfelt moments we've seen on the silver screen in years. Why does every bloody film have to have the perfect mix of representation? Look, we know it's important to show different faces on the screen, but it shouldn't be a requirement. If it makes sense for the story, sure, but if it doesn't, no problem. Why people make up the majority of active personnel in the US military? It's not a surprise that most of the Top Gun cadets are white. The film does make an attempt to show people from other backgrounds, but not at the expense of realism or the story it wants to tell. Absolute nonsense. I'll let you in on a little secret. I liked the original Top Gun, but I didn't think it was some classic. It had massive cultural impact, but as a film I just thought it was kind of alright. Maverick, on the other hand, is better by an order of Mach 10. It's not even close. It keeps the essence of what made Top Gun such a cultural phenomenon, but it improves on it in almost every way. Why you got to bring Eddie Murphy into this? It's a completely different film. 21st century doesn't have to mean Tom Cruise gets down on one knee and says sorry for all his past transgressions. It don't mean we can't have a badass like Maverick still being a badass. 21st century don't mean loads and loads of social commentary and turning our heroes into pathetic losers. Give it a bloody rest. It's not Top Gun Girl Power, it's Top Gun Maverick. We came to see Maverick, the hotshot pilot from the original. Turning the tables on Maverick and putting a strong woman in the hot seat would make it a shit film. Just because Maverick is in his late 50s don't mean he can't kick ass anymore. Why do you think people can't do their jobs when they reach middle age? For someone so progressive, that sounds pretty bloody ageist, doesn't it? How come it's alright to paint all white dads with the same brush in 2022? That don't sound very inclusive to me, mate. In fact, it sounds like the absolute opposite. Again, a 60-year-old is supposed to be on his deathbed and no longer fit for work, is he? Sure, he's not quarterbacking a Super Bowl anytime soon, but he can still train new pilots or even, God forbid, fly a plane. In 2007, the retirement age for pilots was raised to 65. Put that in your Aegis pipe and smoke it. Yeah, I did like it, mate, and I loved Danger Zone. I got proper goosebumps when it played in the opening credits to Maverick. Why is playing volleyball without a shirt on homoerotic? Take a walk down any street in Britain on a hot day and you think it was Gay Pride Week according to your logic. What rubbish. Do you honestly get paid to write this stuff? Daylight robbery. Here we go again. Are you off your bleeding rocker, lad? What violent patriotism. Maverick is just a bloke who happens to be really bloody good at flying and he's sent in to help stop a rogue state from going nuclear. How is that violent patriotism? Is national security and keeping the world safe a bad thing now? If this situation doesn't call for military action, then what does? You make Neville Chamberlain sound like Genghis Khan. You'd appease every tyrant until they rolled out Champs-Élysées in tanks. Never ever wrong. Pray tell, wise movie reviewer, when will you admit how bloody wrong you were to send out a review as god-awful as this one? What is it with these idiots wanting Cruise to be pushing a Zimmer frame round, giving long-winded apologies about how much of an arsehole he were in his youth? It's like they watched Star Wars The Last Jedi, then decided that's the only blueprint for returning iconic characters. The current president of the US is 79 years old. 79! If this was a movie president, you'd have been saying he should have been put out to pasture 2 decades ago. Is this really all about Tom Cruise's age? Is my record player on blink again? More claptrap about Cruise being almost 60. Remember Unforgiven, one of the best westerns ever made, about an old Clint Eastwood coming back to kick some more gunslinger arse? 62 years old at the time of filming, and not a bloody peep about his age from you lot. Now I completely get it. Consider yourself Rumble's son. You don't have a problem with his age, you have a problem with the man. Look, Cruise's religious convictions don't exactly make him endearing, but you know what? How about we judge him by the content of his character, or in this case, the content of his movies? Is it really that big of a deal that the bloke believes in an alien ruler at Galaxy? Come on. For such progressive reviewers, you really do have a lack of tolerance for his religion, don't you? Learn to separate the movie from the man. Judge the movie, not who he prays to in church on a Sunday. No use at all. No use at all. Zero. A waste of bandwidth in a time of unlimited bandwidth. It's a bloody different film. And so what if it recruited a lot of people into the Navy? Are you saying the US don't need a Navy? One particular president might not have made the best use of them in your opinion. But what's that got to do with Top Gun? They can't choose who president is at the time of release, no more than you can choose to review this movie without turning it into a political it piece. Vile and idiotic. I'm starting to have the same feeling, but not about the film. Nostalgia is healthy. We don't have to constantly hate ourselves for what happened in the past. Just as today, bad things happened and good things. Let's have a bit of honest reflection, please. Speaking of tears, have you seen its box office take and Rotten Tomatoes score? Get your hanky out. Vile and idiotic. Now we're right. Why would women make a difference to men playing a game of football? Oh wait, they've got their shirts off again. That must make it homoerotic. In the woke world of movie reviewers, somehow it makes sense to cry out for more LGBT representation, but insult a film for being homoerotic. What the fuck? You call yourself a film critic, but you see everything through a political lens. You can't see the wood for the trees or the awesome action film for its heroic image of fighter pilots. There's nothing wrong with painting the Navy in a positive light, and nothing wrong with some kid in Alabama watching it and dreaming of becoming the next Iceman. The internet really does have a lot to answer for. Back in my day, you needed actual critical thinking skills to be considered a movie reviewer. Nowadays, any village idiot can get on their computer, hammer out some nonsense, and have it up on Rotten Tomatoes. Thank God, or Xenu, that the majority of critics this time had some bloody common sense, and these 5 top critics look like absolute loons. Enjoyed this video? Please smash like button, hit subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Cheers. Talk to me, Goose.